Blood pooled at her feet as she dragged his massive frame through the back door, her uniform now stained crimson. The city's most feared man now helpless in her trembling hands. But no one warned her that saving his life would become her deadliest mistake. Is your heart racing yet? Tell us where you're watching from, and hit that subscribe button for more dangerous love stories where loyalty and passion collide. The first gunshot shattered the evening calm. Ellie froze behind the dumpster, trash bag suspended mid-toss, as two more shots punctured the night air. Her hands trembled as she peered around the corner. A man staggered into the alley, one hand pressed against his side, dark liquid seeping between his fingers. The other hand clutched a gun, swinging wildly toward shadows. Even hunched in pain, he moved with lethal grace. His expensive suit was torn and blood-soaked, his face a mask of controlled agony. Her instinct screamed to run back inside Tony's diner, lock the door, call 911. Instead, she found herself stepping forward. "You need help," she whispered, immediately regretting drawing his attention. His head snapped toward her, eyes sharp despite his obvious pain. Recognition flickered across his face. Of course he'd recognize her. She'd served him coffee twice a week for months. Always black, always at table 7, always with two silent men flanking him while others approached with deference. Everyone in Chicago knew Victor Moretti. The papers called him a businessman, but whispers named him capo of the city's most feared crime family. Inside. Now. His voice was strained but commanding. Behind him, footsteps pounded the pavement, growing closer. Ellie's breath caught as a masked figure appeared at the alley entrance, gun raised. Victor spun, firing twice. The figure crumpled. Without thinking, Ellie grabbed Victor's arm, supporting his weight as she pulled him toward the diner's back entrance. Blood smeared across her uniform as she struggled with his massive frame. The service door slammed behind them just as more footsteps echoed through the alley. "Storage room," she whispered, guiding him past the quiet kitchen. The night cook was on break. Small mercy. Victor collapsed against shelves of canned tomatoes, breathing heavily. "Phone," he demanded, extending a bloodied hand. Trembling, she handed him her cell. He dialed quickly, speaking in terse Italian. When he finished, his piercing gaze locked onto hers. 10 minutes. Say nothing to anyone." He pressed the phone back into her palm, his fingers lingering against hers. An electric current shot through her body at his touch. "You're bleeding badly," she said, reaching for a stack of clean towels. When she turned back, his gun was pointed directly at her heart. "Who do you work for?" he demanded, voice deadly quiet. "Tony's Diner," she whispered, pulse pounding. "You've seen me here for months. And you just happen to be taking out trash when I'm being hunted?" "Tuesday is my closing shift," she managed, fighting to keep her voice steady. "I always take out trash at 11. His eyes narrowed, searching her face for deception. Blood continued spreading across his shirt. "Please," she said, "let me help you before you bleed out." Something shifted in his expression. Calculation, perhaps, or pain overriding suspicion. He lowered the gun slightly. Ellie pressed the towel against his wound, ignoring the warmth of his blood seeping through to her fingers. He hissed in pain but remained still, watching her every move with predatory intensity. "Why help me?" he asked. "You know who I am." She kept pressure on the wound, avoiding his gaze. "My father taught me every life has value." "Your father was naive," Victor replied, grimacing. "Some lives cost more than they're worth." A banging at the back door made Ellie jump. Victor grabbed her wrist with surprising strength. "If you've betrayed me," he whispered against her ear, "I'll make sure you live long enough to regret it." The door burst open. 2 suited men rushed in, guns drawn. "Boss," the taller one said, relief evident. "Car's waiting." Victor straightened, suddenly appearing less wounded. "This woman," he gestured toward Ellie. "Bring her." "What?" Panic surged through her. "No, I can't." "You've seen too much," Victor said coolly. "You're coming with us." But I helped you, Ellie protested, backing away until she hit shelving. Victor stepped closer, towering over her. Blood still stained his shirt, but his eyes were clear, calculating. Yes, he said, tracing one finger along her jawline. And now I'm wondering exactly why. Ellie's heart hammered against her ribs as Victor's men flanked her. The taller one, broad-shouldered with a scar bisecting his left eyebrow, gripped her elbow, not painfully, but with unmistakable authority. Please, she whispered. I have a roommate. She'll worry. Victor's penetrating gaze seemed to dissect her. Marco, take her phone. Text the roommate that she's staying with a friend. The second man, younger with close-cropped hair, plucked the phone from her pocket. Password. 1994, Ellie answered, watching helplessly as he typed a message to Jenny. Outside, a sleek black Escalade idled in the alley, engine purring quietly. The night had turned misty, haloing the streetlights in ghostly coronas. Victor moved with surprising agility for a wounded man, sliding into the back seat while Marco guided Ellie after him. The interior smelled of expensive leather and copper-scented blood. As the vehicle pulled away, Victor pressed a button, raising a privacy partition between them and the front seats. Remove your apron, he commanded. What? Ellie clutched the blood-stained fabric like armor. It's evidence, he said impatiently. Unless you want police questioning why your work uniform is covered in my blood? Reluctantly, she untied it, hands shaking. Victor took it, stuffing it into a black bag that appeared from under the seat. Your apartment? He asked. She blinked in confusion. Address, he clarified, irritation edging his voice. We need your clothes, too. 34. Westmore, apartment 3B, she answered automatically, then processed his words. Wait, my clothes? Also covered in blood. His eyes flicked to her white blouse, now sporting crimson handprints and smears. Unless you'd prefer to explain that to your roommate? The Escalade changed course. Ellie pressed herself against the door, putting maximum distance between them in the confined space. Victor watched her with detached amusement. I'm not going to hurt you, he said, voice low. If that was my intention, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You're kidnapping me, she pointed out. I'm containing a potential security breach. There's a difference. Not from where I'm sitting. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. You saved my life tonight. I don't forget debts, good or bad. The car slowed near her building. Victor looked expectantly at her. Roommates home or not? Ellie glanced up at her window. Dark. Jenny works night shift at the hospital, Wednesdays and weekends. He nodded to Marco, who exited first. Third floor, right side, apartment B. Secure it, then signal. While they waited, Victor leaned back, eyes never leaving her face. Tell me about yourself, Ellie. The sound of her name in his mouth felt strangely intimate. There's nothing to tell, she whispered. Everyone has a story. His gaze intensified. 24 or 25? College educated but working as a waitress. No boyfriend, no ring, no photos on your phone lock screen. You live in a mediocre apartment, but wear quality shoes. Practical, but not cheap. He tilted his head. Sending money home to someone? The accuracy of his assessment sent a chill down her spine. My mother. She's sick. Marco's voice came through a speaker. Clear, boss. Shall we? Victor gestured to the door as the Escalade stopped. Inside her apartment, Ellie felt the surreal collision of her ordinary life with the extraordinary danger Victor represented. Her modest living room with its second-hand furniture and carefully chosen art prints now contained 3 dangerous men, one actively bleeding onto her carpet. Bathroom? Victor asked. Down the hall, first door. He disappeared inside while Marco stationed himself at the window and the younger man checked each room methodically. Change your clothes, Marco instructed, returning her phone. Pack overnight things. How long? Pack, he repeated firmly. In her bedroom, Ellie's hands trembled as she pulled jeans and a sweater from her dresser. She changed quickly, stuffing her bloodied uniform into a plastic bag. After a moment's hesitation, she added pajamas, underwear, and toiletries to her backpack. When she emerged, Victor stood in her living room, dress shirt removed. Marco had helped him wrap bandages around his torso, the white gauze already showing spots of red. Seeing him shirtless sent an unwelcome flutter through her stomach. His body was all lean muscle and unexpected scars, telling stories of previous violence survived. "Ready?" he asked, shrugging into a fresh shirt Marco produced from somewhere. "Do I have a choice?" Ellie asked. Victor's expression softened fractionally. "We all have choices, Ellie. Sometimes none of them are good." As they left, he placed his hand at the small of her back, not pushing, but guiding. The heat of his palm burned through her sweater, branding her skin beneath. "Where are you taking me?" she finally asked as they descended in the elevator. "Somewhere safe," he replied. His dark eyes held hers in the mirrored wall. "For both of us." The Moretti estate sprawled like a fortress on Chicago's outskirts, wrought iron gates parting silently for the escalade. Ellie stared through tinted windows at manicured grounds and security cameras tracking their approach. The main house rose like a stone sentinel, windows gleaming against the night sky. "Home sweet home?" she murmured, aiming for sarcasm but achieving only breathless anxiety. Victor's mouth curved slightly. "For now." A woman waited in the marble-floored foyer, tall, elegant, with silver-streaked dark hair and Victor's same penetrating gaze. "Vittorio," she said, eyes sweeping over his blood-stained appearance before landing on Ellie with laser-like intensity. "You bring trouble and strangers into our home on the same night?" "Madre," he replied with surprising gentleness. "This is Ellie. She helped me tonight. Ellie, my mother, Sophia Moretti." Sophia's assessment was swift and merciless. "The waitress from Tony's." At Ellie's startled look, she added, "You think we let him eat anywhere without thorough vetting of the staff?" Victor touched his mother's shoulder. "I need Antonio." "Already waiting in your study," she replied. "I'll settle your guest." Victor turned to Ellie, standing close enough that she caught the scent of his cologne beneath the metallic tang of blood. "My mother will show you to a room. We'll talk in the morning." Before she could respond, he was gone, leaving her alone with the formidable Sophia Moretti. "Follow me," Sophia commanded, leading her up a grand staircase. "You're fortunate, you know." "Am I?" Ellie struggled to keep pace with the older woman's determined stride. "Most who see my son in such a compromised position don't live to describe it." Sophia paused, turning to study her. "Yet here you are, in our home, rather than the Chicago River." They stopped before a heavy wooden door. Sophia pushed it open, revealing a luxurious bedroom larger than Ellie's entire apartment. "Bathroom through there, clean clothes in the dresser." Sophia's gaze softened marginally. "You helped my son when others would have run. For that, you have my gratitude. But understand, gratitude only extends so far." The door closed with quiet finality, followed by the subtle click of a lock engaging. Ellie stood frozen for several seconds, absorbing her new reality. Protected or imprisoned, she wasn't sure which. The elegant room suddenly felt airless. She rushed to the windows, finding them sealed and reinforced. 3 stories separated her from the ground below. In the bathroom, she scrubbed Victor's blood from beneath her fingernails, watching pink water swirl down the drain. Her reflection looked alien, same features, but her eyes held newfound knowledge of a world she'd only glimpsed before tonight. She changed into silk pajamas from the dresser, expensive and eerily her exact size. Had they researched her so thoroughly? The thought sent shivers down her spine. Sleep proved elusive despite the cloud-soft bed. Near dawn, she finally drifted off, only to jerk awake at a soft knock. A young woman entered with a breakfast tray. "Mr. Moretti requests your company downstairs when you're ready. Clothes are laid out for you." Indeed, on a chair by the now unlocked door hung a simple but elegant dress and cardigan. Again, exactly her size. Dressed and fortified by coffee from the breakfast tray, Ellie ventured into the hallway where Marco waited. "Sleep well?" he asked, not unkindly. "Like someone locked in a strange house with criminals," she replied. His mouth twitched. "Boss is waiting." Victor's study exuded old-world power, dark woods, leather-bound books, and windows overlooking immaculate gardens. He stood when she entered, looking remarkably recovered. Only a careful observer would notice his slightly stiff movements. "Ellie," he gestured to a chair opposite his desk. "I trust you were comfortable. As comfortable as one can be while being held against their will." He smiled, a genuine expression that transformed his severe features. "Direct. I appreciate that. When can I go home?" "That depends." He sat across from her. "Someone tried to kill me last night. Not particularly unusual in my line of work, but the method was concerning. They knew my movements, my security patterns. What does that have to do with me?" "Perhaps nothing. Perhaps everything." His eyes narrowed. "The shooter appeared precisely when I stopped at your diner, a place I visit regularly at predictable times." Understanding dawned. "You think I set you up?" "I consider all possibilities," he replied evenly, "though your actions afterward suggest otherwise." "I want to go home," she said firmly. "And you will. Once I'm certain you're not involved and, more importantly, that you're not in danger." "Danger?" Victor leaned forward. "If someone in my organization is feeding information to my enemies, they know you saw the shooter. They know you helped me. That makes you a liability, a witness to be eliminated." Fear constricted her throat. "So I'm trapped here?" "Think of it as protective custody." "For how long?" "Until I find the traitor." He rose, circling the desk to stand beside her chair. "Help me understand something, Ellie. Why did you help me? You knew who I was. You knew the risk." The question had haunted her through the sleepless night. "I don't know," she admitted. "Instinct, maybe. Most people's instincts tell them to run from bleeding men with guns. I'm not most people." His expression softened as he studied her. "No," he agreed quietly. "You're not." Their eyes locked, tension thickening the air between them. Victor broke the moment first, straightening. "You'll stay here where I can ensure your safety. In return, I need every detail you remember about last night. The shooter, anyone watching the diner, anything unusual in the days before." "And if I refuse?" "I wasn't asking." The gentle tone belied the steel beneath his words. "Your cooperation ensures not only your safety, but your swift return home." Ellie stood, bringing herself closer to him, close enough to catch the spice of his aftershave, to see the flecks of amber in his dark eyes. "Mr. Moretti," she said steadily, "I understand you're used to giving orders. But I saved your life, and I'm not one of your employees. I deserve respect, not threats." For a moment he seemed taken aback by her boldness. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed, a rich sound that transformed his face. "Call me Victor," he said. "Anyone brave enough to lecture me in my own home has earned that right." 3 days passed in the gilded cage of the Moretti estate. Ellie's world contracted to carefully monitored walks in the garden, meals taken with Sophia, who watched her like a hawk studying prey, and daily meetings with Victor in his study, ostensibly to review security footage from the diner and surrounding streets. On the 4th morning, she paced her luxurious prison, frustration mounting. Her mother would be worried sick despite the text messages Marco had helped her craft, vague explanations about a last-minute trip with friends. A knock interrupted her thoughts. Instead of the usual maid with breakfast, Victor himself stood in the doorway, casual in a black sweater and slacks that somehow looked as intimidating as his suits. "Come with me," he said without preamble. "Where?" "You've been cooperative. I thought you might appreciate a change of scenery." He led her not to his study but to the garage housing a collection of luxury vehicles. He selected keys for a sleek charcoal Bentley. "Get in," he said, opening the passenger door. Ellie hesitated. Are you kidnapping me again, or is this a field trip from my existing kidnapping? A smile touched his lips. Let's call it a temporary parole. As they drove through iron gates, Ellie's pulse quickened. Was this her chance? Could she run? The thought evaporated as Victor placed his hand over hers. Don't, he said quietly, as if reading her mind. It would force me to make decisions neither of us wants. They drove in silence through autumn-touched countryside, eventually stopping at a small private lake. A wooden dock extended into still water, reflecting golden trees and blue sky. My father brought me here as a boy, Victor said unexpectedly as they walked toward the water. It was his sanctuary from business. Ellie studied his profile as he gazed across the lake. You don't talk about him much. He died when I was 17. Rivals. His voice remained even, but his jaw tightened. I took control of the family 3 days after his funeral. You were just a teenager, she said, trying to imagine the weight of such responsibility and violence thrust upon someone so young. Age means little in my world. Respect is earned through strength and decisiveness. He turned toward her. My father's mistake was mercy. I vowed never to repeat it. The air between them charged with unspoken questions. Ellie shivered despite the sunshine. Cold? Without waiting for an answer, Victor removed his jacket and draped it around her shoulders. The lining retained his warmth and scent. They sat on a bench overlooking the water. For a time, neither spoke. Why am I here, Victor? She finally asked. Not just at this lake. Why keep me at your house? You could have questioned me and let me go. He studied her with that penetrating gaze. Initially, it was precaution, determining if you were involved, protecting a witness. Now. You intrigue me. The directness of his answer startled her. You're not afraid. Cautious, yes, but not afraid. Even now, alone with me, knowing what I am, what I've done. I've seen you at your most vulnerable, she replied. It's hard to fear someone after you've felt them bleeding through your fingers. His expression darkened. You should fear me, Ellie. Everyone else does. Is that what you want? The question seemed to surprise him. Before he could answer, his phone vibrated. The screen showed Marco's name. Victor answered, listening intently. His face hardened into the mask of the crime boss she'd glimpsed that first night. Change of plans, he said after hanging up. We need to go. During the tense drive back, he made several calls in rapid Italian. Ellie caught only fragments, something about security, shipments, and betrayal. At the estate, chaos had descended. Men in suits moved with urgent purpose, weapons visible beneath jackets. Sophia met them at the door, face tight with controlled anger. The shipment was hit, she told Victor. Polly and 2 others dead. Victor's expression didn't change, but Ellie felt the fury radiating from him. He turned to Marco. Take her upstairs, full lockdown. Wait, Ellie protested, as Marco gripped her elbow. What's happening? Victor's eyes met hers, suddenly cold and distant. Business, he replied flatly. Back in her room, now guarded by an armed man outside her door, Ellie paced anxiously. Hours crawled by. The estate hummed with suppressed violence. Footsteps, hushed conversations, car engines arriving and departing. Near midnight, her door opened. Victor stood silhouetted in the hallway light, still in the clothes from earlier, but now carrying the unmistakable metallic scent of fresh blood. Are you hurt? She asked automatically. Not my blood. His voice was hollow. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. In the dimness, his eyes glittered dangerously. Tonight, 3 of my men died because someone betrayed us. His controlled tone belied the rage beneath. Someone close. I'm sorry, she said, meaning it despite the moral ambiguity of sympathizing with criminals. Are you? He moved closer, studying her face. You barely know them. Barely know me. I know losing people you care about hurts, regardless of what business you're in. Something in his expression shifted. He reached out, fingers hovering near her cheek without touching. "You should be terrified right now," he whispered. "Should I?" "I've killed 2 men tonight," he said bluntly. "Men who thought they could take what's mine." The confession hung between them. Ellie should have recoiled, should have been disgusted or frightened. Instead, she felt a complicated twist of emotions, horror at the violence, but also understanding of his world's brutal calculus. "And now?" she asked, voice steadier than she felt. "Now I hunt the one who betrayed us." His eyes bored into hers. "And I need to be certain it isn't you." "If you believed that," she said quietly, "I wouldn't still be breathing." His hand finally made contact with her face, cupping her cheek with unexpected gentleness. "No," he agreed. "You wouldn't." The touch ignited something dangerous between them, a current neither had acknowledged until this moment. "I should go," he said, but didn't move. "Yes," she whispered, even as she leaned subtly into his touch. His phone shattered the moment. Victor checked the message, jaw tightening. "Tomorrow," he said, withdrawing his hand. "We need to talk." After he left, Ellie pressed her fingers to her cheek where his touch lingered, knowing with terrifying certainty that she was falling into something she might never escape. Morning arrived with a startling change. The door to Ellie's room stood unguarded, unlocked. Suspicious, she ventured into the hallway, finding it empty of the security presence that had dominated the previous day. Downstairs, she followed voices to the kitchen where she found Victor seated at the island counter, reading documents while Sophia prepared coffee. Both looked up when she entered. "Ellie," Victor acknowledged, his tone giving nothing away about their midnight encounter. "Join us." Sophia poured a 3rd cup of coffee, sliding it across the counter. "Sleep well?" she asked with surprising warmth. "Not really," Ellie admitted, taking the seat opposite Victor. "Is everything resolved from yesterday?" Mother and son exchanged glances. "We've identified the likely source of our security breach," Victor said carefully. "Someone inside your organization?" Ellie asked. "The evidence points elsewhere." His gaze locked with hers. "Preliminary investigation suggests information was gathered through Tony's diner." The coffee cup nearly slipped from her fingers. "What?" "Not you," he clarified quickly. "But someone there has been watching me, reporting my movements. We found surveillance equipment in the back office yesterday." Relief washed through her, followed by confusion. "So I can go home?" "Not yet." Victor pushed a tablet toward her. On the screen, grainy security footage showed the diner's back entrance. "This is from 2 weeks ago. Who's that?" A man in a maintenance uniform entered the back door, carrying a toolbox. "Ron Williams," she replied immediately. "He fixed the wiring in Tony's office." She frowned. "But he's been coming for years." "I've known him since I started working there." "According to Tony, the regular electrician is named Sam Barton," Sophia interjected. "No Ron Williams on the payroll." "That's impossible," Ellie protested. "Tony introduced us himself. Ron even fixed my apartment's wiring when—" She stopped suddenly, blood draining from her face. "When what?" Victor asked sharply. "When I mentioned the lights flickering," she whispered. He offered. Said he'd give me the friends and family discount." Victor's expression darkened. "He's been in your apartment?" "About a month ago." Horror dawned as implications cascaded through her mind. "You think he bugged my place too? That he used me to get to you?" "It appears so." Victor's voice was gentle despite the hardness in his eyes. "Which means you're not just a witness anymore, Ellie. You're a victim." "But why?" Her hands trembled around her coffee cup. "Why target me?" "Because you were accessible," Sophia said bluntly. "Young woman living alone, working for tips. You mentioned sending money to your sick mother. Financial pressure, emotional vulnerability. Perfect target for manipulation." "We need to know everything about your interactions with Williams," Victor said. And we need to sweep your apartment for devices. I'll send Marco, Sophia offered, already reaching for her phone. No. Victor's voice carried absolute authority. I'll handle this personally. An hour later, Ellie found herself back in her apartment with Victor and two of his security team. The men methodically swept each room with electronic devices, while Victor questioned her about every interaction with Ron Williams. He was friendly, she explained, watching as one of the men removed a tiny device from behind her bathroom mirror. Not flirty or suspicious, just kind. Fixed things without charging much. Asked casual questions about work. About me? Victor asked, examining the listening device now bagged as evidence. Sometimes. Nothing obvious, just that businessman still come in for coffee? Or your regular customers still treating you okay? Victor's expression tightened. And you answered. I didn't think, she began defensively. Of course you didn't. He sighed, rubbing his temple. You had no reason to be suspicious. One of the security men approached with another device found in her bedroom lamp. Ellie wrapped her arms around herself, feeling violated. They've been listening to me, she whispered, watching me. Victor dismissed his men to check the building's common areas. When they were alone, he approached her carefully, as one might a frightened animal. Pack more clothes, he said. You're coming back with me. For how long this time? Until Williams is found. His tone left no room for argument. You're not safe here. As she gathered clothes with shaking hands, a terrible thought struck her. Victor, she called. He appeared in her bedroom doorway immediately. My mother, if they targeted me to get to you, could they? Already handled, he assured her. I sent men to secure her home this morning. She's safe. The casual deployment of resources to protect a stranger should have alarmed her. Instead, overwhelming gratitude flooded through her. Thank you, she whispered. He nodded once, then his gaze caught on a framed photo by her bed. Ellie with an older woman, both smiling. Your mother? He asked, picking it up. Yes, before she got sick. Ellie zipped her bag. Multiple sclerosis. The treatments are expensive and insurance only covers so much. Understanding dawned in his eyes. Which is why you're serving coffee instead of using your education. My degree doesn't matter if she can't get medication, she said simply. Victor replaced the photo carefully. Pack it, he said. Bring what matters. Back at the Moretti estate, something had shifted. No longer was she treated as a prisoner or even a guest, but as someone under the family's protection. Sophia herself showed Ellie to a different room, larger, with a sitting area and adjoining office space. You'll be more comfortable here for an extended stay, Sophia explained. These quarters are in the family wing. The significance wasn't lost on Ellie. Why the change of status? Sophia's expression softened fractionally. Anyone used as a pawn against my family deserves sanctuary. Later that evening, Victor found Ellie in the estate's library, where she'd retreated after dinner. He carried 2 glasses of amber liquid, offering one to her. Scotch, he explained. You look like you could use it. She accepted, their fingers brushing in the exchange. Any news about Williams? We're closing in. He sat beside her on the leather sofa. My men found 6 more devices in your building. You were under comprehensive surveillance. She shuddered, sipping the scotch. The burn matched her anger. Why me? Of all the people you interact with, why target the waitress? Because you were invisible, he said quietly. Staff are easily overlooked. Even by me. He studied his glass. I saw you every week for months, but never really looked. Not until you dragged me bleeding through that door. The memory hung between them. His blood on her hands, the weight of his body against hers. Williams miscalculated, Victor continued. He saw your financial situation, your isolation, your gentle nature. He thought you were weak. His eyes met hers. He was wrong. I don't feel strong, she admitted. I feel used. Being manipulated doesn't make you weak, Ellie. It makes you human. His voice dropped lower. And now you're under my protection. No one touches what's mine. The possessive statement should have offended her. Instead, it sent heat coursing through her body. The air between them charged with dangerous possibility. "And am I yours?" she asked boldly, the Scotch lending courage. His eyes darkened. "You're under my protection," he repeated carefully. "That's not what I asked." Victor set down his glass, turning to face her fully. "This is dangerous territory, Ellie. I think we crossed that line the moment you had me brought here." His hand reached out, fingers tracing her jawline with feather-light touch. "If we do this," he said, voice rough with restraint, "there's no going back to your old life. You understand that?" The weight of his words hung between them, not just the promise of whatever was building between them, but the irrevocable step into his world of power and danger. Before she could answer, the library door swung open. Marco stood there, tension radiating from his stance. "Boss," he said urgently, "we found Williams." Victor stood immediately, the intimate moment shattered. "Where?" "Trying to board a flight to Mexico. Diaz has him secured at the warehouse." Something cold and lethal settled over Victor's features, the face of the Moretti crime boss, not the man who had just been about to kiss her. "I'll be there in 20. He turned to Ellie, his expression unreadable. "We'll continue this conversation later." As he strode from the room, Ellie realized with startling clarity that she stood at a crossroads. Behind her lay the safety of her ordinary life. Ahead, the dangerous allure of Victor's world, and the man himself. The most terrifying part wasn't the danger. It was how desperately she wanted to leap into it. Ellie didn't sleep that night. She paced her room, thoughts cycling between fear and anticipation. Victor hadn't returned. Whatever was happening with Williams, it wouldn't end well. She understood enough about Victor's world now to know that. Dawn broke, casting pale light through the windows when her door finally opened. Victor stood there, jacket gone, sleeves rolled up, looking exhausted but controlled. "May I come in?" he asked formally. She nodded, searching his face for signs of what had transpired. He closed the door quietly behind him. "It's done," he said simply. "Williams won't trouble anyone again." Ellie swallowed hard, not asking for details she didn't want to hear. Did he say who he was working for? The Donovan family. Victor's expression hardened. "Our rivals from Detroit. They've been trying to move into Chicago for years. And they used me to get to you." The realization still burned. "Yes." He stepped closer. "Williams confirmed it. They chose you because you were accessible." "You mean vulnerable," she corrected bitterly. Victor's hand lifted, hesitating before gently tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "I mean human, kind. The sort who helps a bleeding stranger in an alley." The touch sent electricity down her spine. "What happens now?" "War," he replied bluntly. "The Donovans crossed a line." "And me?" His eyes darkened. "That depends on you." His fingers traced her jawline. "Our conversation was interrupted?" Heat bloomed in her chest, spreading outward. "You asked if I understood there was no going back." "And do you?" She met his gaze steadily. "I think I crossed that line the moment I dragged you through that door." Something shifted in his expression. Hunger barely contained. "Ellie," he whispered, her name a warning and a prayer. She stepped forward, eliminating the space between them. "I'm not afraid of you, Victor." "You should be." His voice roughened. "I've done things. I know who you are." She placed her palm against his chest, feeling his heart race beneath expensive fabric. "I've made my choice." His control snapped. One hand tangled in her hair while the other circled her waist, pulling her against him as his mouth claimed hers. The kiss was devastating, possession, hunger, and barely restrained power. Ellie melted into him, answering his intensity with her own. When they broke apart, both breathing heavily, Victor pressed his forehead against hers. "If anyone tries to use you against me again," he murmured, "they won't live to regret it." The possessive declaration should have frightened her. Instead, she felt strangely safe in the arms of this dangerous man. A sharp knock interrupted the moment. Victor stepped back, composing himself instantly as Marco's voice called through the door. "Boss, the Colombians are here, meeting in 10. Victor nodded, though Marco couldn't see it. "Tell them I'll be down shortly." He turned back to Ellie. "I have to go." "Business?" she asked. A grim smile touched his lips. "Always." He brushed his thumb across her lower lip. "We'll continue this tonight. 8 o'clock. Wear something formal. I'm taking you to dinner." After he left, Ellie pressed trembling fingers to her lips, still burning from his kiss. She'd made her choice, stepped willingly into his darkness. The question now was how deep she would fall. Sophia appeared at noon, bringing a garment bag. "For tonight," she explained, hanging it in the closet. "Victor said you needed something appropriate." Ellie bristled slightly. "I have clothes." "Not for where he's taking you." Sophia's expression softened fractionally. "This isn't charity, girl. It's practicality." "Where exactly are we going?" "Cielo, his restaurant downtown." Sophia studied her carefully. "I won't insult your intelligence by warning you about my son. You've seen enough to know what he is." "Yes," Ellie admitted. "Then understand this. Loving him is choosing his world. There's no halfway." The older woman's eyes held centuries of family secrets. "Once you're seen as his, you become both protected and targeted." "I understand the risks." "Do you?" Sophia challenged. "You've seen the glamour, the power, even glimpsed the violence. But there's more. Constant vigilance, never knowing if today's the day someone decides to make their move through you." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because he looks at you the way his father once looked at me." Sophia's voice softened with memory. "And I want you to enter with open eyes, not romantic delusions." Later, dressed in the midnight blue gown Sophia had brought, a masterpiece of silk and subtle beading, Ellie descended the stairs. Victor waited in the foyer, devastating in a black suit that emphasized his dangerous elegance. His eyes darkened as he took her in. "Beautiful," he murmured, taking her hand and raising it to his lips. The gesture sent heat cascading through her. In that moment, despite Sophia's warnings, despite everything she knew about him, Ellie knew she was already lost. Cielo occupied the top floor of a sleek downtown skyscraper, offering panoramic views of Chicago's glittering skyline. As Victor escorted Ellie through the restaurant, heads turned. Staff nodded respectfully. Patrons watched with curious eyes. "Everyone's staring," she whispered. Victor's hand pressed against the small of her back, warm and possessive. "I rarely bring guests here. Never a woman." The maitre d' led them to a private dining room separated from the main restaurant by frosted glass. Inside, a single table overlooked the city through floor-to-ceiling windows. "Your usual, Mr. Moretti?" the sommelier asked after they were seated. "Bring the 82 Bordeaux," Victor replied. When they were alone, Ellie glanced around the opulent space. "Do you own this entire restaurant?" "Among other businesses," he confirmed. "I prefer keeping legitimate enterprises separate from family operations." "Legitimate being a relative term?" she asked with raised eyebrow. His lips quirked. "In Chicago? Always." He leaned forward. "Does it bother you?" "What I am?" She considered the question carefully. "What bothers me is that I should be bothered more." His laugh was unexpected and genuine. Honest, at least. Dinner progressed with surprising normalcy. Exquisite food, fine wine, conversation that flowed easily between them. Victor spoke of his childhood, his education in London, his return to Chicago after his father's murder. 17 is young to take over a family business, Ellie observed. "I wasn't alone. My mother and uncle guided me." His expression darkened. "But the decisions were mine to make. including how to respond to my father's killers. She read between the lines. You're first. Yes. He didn't elaborate, and she didn't ask. After dinner, he led her to a private elevator that descended to an underground garage where his Bentley waited. Not returning to the estate? She asked as they pulled into traffic. Not yet. His profile was sharp against passing streetlights. There's something I want to show you. They drove to the warehouse district, stopping before an unmarked building. Inside, after passing through multiple security checkpoints, Victor guided her into what appeared to be a normal office. Desk, computer, filing cabinets. He pressed his palm against a section of wall. A hidden door slid open, revealing a steel-reinforced room filled with monitors displaying security feeds from across the city. My eyes and ears, Victor explained. Every property, every business, every street corner that matters. Why show me this? Because I want you to understand. He turned to face her fully. This is my world, Ellie. Control, vigilance, power. There are no halfway measures, no separating the man from what he does. On one monitor, she recognized her apartment building. Another showed Tony's diner. You've been watching me, she realized, since the night you saved me. He touched her cheek. At first for security then, for other reasons. She should have felt violated, but understanding dawned instead. You've been protecting me. Yes. His eyes burned into hers. I protect what's mine. The possessive statement sent heat through her body. Is that what I am now? Yours? His hand slid to the back of her neck, drawing her closer. That's what I'm asking, Ellie. Not as prisoner or guest, but by choice. To be the mafia boss's girlfriend? She challenged. To be the woman I can't stop thinking about. His voice roughened. The one who sees all of me and doesn't run. Before she could respond, alarms blared from multiple screens. Victor turned sharply as security feeds showed armed men breaching the perimeter of the Moretti estate. The Donovans! He snarled, already pulling out his phone. He barked orders in rapid Italian before turning back to her. I need to go. Marco will take you somewhere safe. Your mother is being evacuated. He pressed a quick, hard kiss to her lips. Wait for me. Promise me. Within minutes, Marco arrived to escort her to a panic room buried beneath the building. As the reinforced door sealed behind them, gunfire echoed from somewhere above. Will he be okay? She asked Marco, unable to keep fear from her voice. The man's expression softened slightly. The boss? He survived worse. Hours passed in the windowless room, marked only by the steady tick of an analog clock. After what seemed an eternity, the security panel chimed. The door swung open to reveal Victor, jacket gone, shirt bloodied, a fresh cut across his cheekbone. Victor. She rushed toward him, stopping just short of touching him. Are you hurt? Not mine, he assured her, pulling her into his arms. She went willingly, burying her face against his chest, inhaling his scent beneath the acrid smell of gunpowder. Your mother? The estate? Safe, damaged but defensible. His arms tightened around her. They were looking for you. She pulled back to see his face. Me? Why? Leverage. His expression darkened. They've realized what you mean to me. The implications hit her fully. Her involvement with him had painted a target on her back. I can't go back to my apartment, can I? She whispered. Or the diner. My old life. No. His honesty was brutal but necessary. Not unless you walk away from me now, completely. The choice crystallized before her, safety and normalcy, or Victor and his dangerous world. I don't want to leave you, she admitted, the truth terrifying in its simplicity. Relief washed over his features. He cupped her face in his hands. Then don't. His kiss was different this time. Not just passion, but a claiming. A promise and a warning wrapped together. Ellie surrendered to it, understanding that she was crossing the final threshold into his world. There would be no going back. 2 weeks later, Ellie stood in the newly rebuilt east wing of the Moretti estate, surveying the changes. Workers had repaired the damage from the Donovan attack with remarkable efficiency, though evidence remained in the heightened security, more guards, new surveillance systems, reinforced windows. She'd moved into a suite adjoining Victor's, her few possessions from her apartment now integrated into the luxury of the Moretti home. The transition should have felt stranger, but there was an uncanny rightness to waking each morning in Victor's arms, learning the rhythms of his days, watching him move between legitimate businessman and crime lord with seamless authority. Sophia had adjusted to her presence with surprising grace, treating Ellie with a cautious respect that was slowly warming into something like acceptance. "Beautiful work," Victor's voice came from behind her as his arms encircled her waist. "The East Wing looks better than before." She leaned back against his chest. "Helps to have unlimited resources and people who don't ask questions." "One of many benefits," he agreed, pressing his lips to the sensitive spot behind her ear. A discreet cough interrupted them. Marco stood in the doorway, expression carefully neutral. "Boss, the shipment from Montreal needs your attention. And Ms. Vargas is waiting in your study." Victor tensed. Ellie felt it in the subtle stiffening of his arms around her. "Tell her I'll be there shortly." After Marco left, Ellie turned in Victor's embrace. "Ms. Vargas?" "Valentina Vargas, represents our Colombian interests." His tone was deliberately casual. Too casual. "And she needs to see you urgently enough to show up unannounced?" Something flickered in his eyes. "Business sometimes requires immediate attention." "Victor?" She placed a hand on his chest. "Don't lie to me." He sighed, pressing his forehead against hers. "Valentina was, a former associate." The relationship occasionally extended beyond business. Jealousy flared, sharp and unexpected. "I see." "It ended over a year ago," he added, reading her expression. "But she's still a valuable business contact. Then you should see what she wants." Ellie stepped back, creating space between them. "Business is business, right?" Victor caught her wrist. "This isn't about her." "Isn't it?" The insecurity she'd been suppressing surfaced. "I'm the waitress you kidnapped, who somehow ended up in your bed. She's the sophisticated business associate from your world. My world is where I put it." His voice hardened with authority. "And you're in it by my choice and yours." He lifted her chin with his finger. "Trust works both ways, Ellie." She nodded, not entirely reassured. "Go. I'll be fine." Alone, she wandered to the library, attempting to distract herself with a book. An hour passed before the door opened. Instead of Victor, Sophia entered carrying a folder. "Ms. Vargas has left," she announced without preamble. She wasn't pleased. "I'm sorry to hear that," Ellie replied, not entirely truthfully. Sophia's lips quirked. "No, you're not." She sat beside Ellie, placing the folder between them. "You should know what you're dealing with." Inside were photographs. Victor with a stunning Latina woman at various events, spanning what appeared to be several years. In some, they were clearly intimate. "Why show me this?" Ellie asked, pain squeezing her chest. "Because Valentina was more than a business associate or casual lover." Sophia's voice held no cruelty, only pragmatism. "She was once considered a suitable match for Victor. Their families have aligned interests." "An arranged marriage?" Ellie couldn't keep the disbelief from her voice. "An advantageous alliance," Sophia corrected. "One Victor rejected last year, causing considerable tension with our South American connections." Understanding dawned. "And now I'm here, making things more complicated." "Yes." Sophia closed the folder. Valentina came to reassert her claim. Victor sent her away. The older woman studied Ellie carefully. "He's choosing you over significant business interests. I need to know if you understand what that means." Before Ellie could answer, shouting erupted from down the hall. Victor's voice, raised in rare anger. Both women rose as the library door burst open. Victor stood there, fury etched in every line of his body. "She went to my mother?" he demanded, eyes locked on the folder. "I thought she should understand the situation," Sophia replied calmly. "That wasn't your decision to make." His voice was dangerously quiet. "Someone needed to make it." Sophia stood her ground. "The Colombians are threatening to pull out of the Montreal arrangement because you humiliated Valentina." "I'll handle the Colombians." "Like you handled the Donovans?" Sophia challenged. "Your judgment is compromised, Vittorio. First the waitress, now this." Ellie flinched at the dismissive reference. Victor's eyes flashed. "The waitress," he said coldly, "is under my protection and in my bed by my choice. The Colombians will accept that or find another partner." "You would risk everything for her?" Sophia demanded. "I built this empire. I can rebuild it if necessary." Victor's gaze shifted to Ellie, softening fractionally. "Leave us." After Sophia departed, tense silence filled the room. Ellie stared at the folder between them. "I didn't know about her," she finally said. "It wasn't relevant." Victor ran a hand through his hair. "Valentina and I were convenient for each other, nothing more. Your mother seems to think differently." "My mother thinks about the family's interests." He moved closer, taking her hands. "But I make the final decisions." "Even when they're bad for business?" "Even then." His thumbs traced circles on her wrists. "I didn't plan for you, Ellie. You weren't calculated or strategic. You just happened." The simple truth of it melted her resistance. "So what now?" "Now I remind the Colombians why they need us more than we need them." His expression hardened briefly before focusing on her again. "And you accept that you're where I want you to be." He kissed her then, erasing doubts with the heat of his mouth, the possessive press of his body against hers. When they separated, breathless, she saw certainty in his eyes that matched the growing conviction in her heart. Whatever storms his world brought, they would weather them together. "Focus," Victor commanded, adjusting her stance. Elbow up. Ellie repositioned, took a breath, and fired. The bullet hit the target's shoulder rather than the center mass she'd aimed for. "Better," he conceded, but still not good enough. 3 months had passed since she'd entered Victor's world. Autumn had given way to Chicago's bitter winter, and her integration into the Moretti family continued with daily lessons. Weapons training with Victor, financial management with Sophia, security protocols with Marco. "I'm not sure I'll ever be a natural," Ellie sighed, lowering the pistol. "You don't need to be a marksman," Victor replied, taking the gun and checking the safety. "Just good enough to buy time until help arrives." The practical reality of why she needed these skills never failed to chill her. The Donovan threat had receded after Victor's brutal response to their attack, but other dangers remained. Being the woman in Victor Moretti's bed painted a permanent target on her back. "Enough for today," he decided, storing the weapons. "We need to prepare for tonight." Tonight, the annual Moretti Foundation Charity Gala. Her first public appearance as Victor's companion. "Nervous?" he asked, reading her expression as they walked back to the main house. "Terrified," she admitted. "It's my official debut as the boss's girlfriend, right? Everyone will be watching." "Let them watch." His arm slid around her waist, pulling her against his side. "They'll see exactly what I want them to see, that you're mine and under my protection." In their suite, a couture gown awaited, deep emerald silk that flowed like water. Sophia had arranged for professional stylists who spent hours transforming Ellie from former waitress to worthy companion for one of Chicago's most powerful men. When she emerged, Victor's expression made all the fuss worthwhile. His eyes darkened as he took in the elegant sweep of the gown, her upswept hair, the single emerald pendant at her throat. His gift, delivered that morning. "Beautiful," he murmured, crossing to her. But missing one thing. From his pocket, he withdrew a small velvet box. Inside nestled a diamond bracelet that caught the light in dazzling fragments. "Victor," she breathed as he fastened it around her wrist. "It's too much." "Nothing is too much." His fingers lingered on her pulse point. "Ready?" The ballroom of Chicago's Grand Plaza Hotel had been transformed into a winter wonderland for the gala. As they entered, conversations paused, heads turned. Victor guided her through the crowd with a possessive hand at the small of her back, introducing her to a blur of important faces: politicians, businessmen, other family captains. She felt the weight of evaluation in their gazes, the calculation. Victor's unexpected choice was being measured and assessed. Sophia joined them, resplendent in sapphire blue, playing the gracious matriarch while her sharp eyes missed nothing. "The mayor wants a word," she murmured to Victor. "Something about the waterfront development." As Victor stepped away to handle the politicking that kept his business empire running smoothly, Ellie found herself momentarily alone. A waiter offered champagne, which she accepted gratefully. "So you're the famous Ellie," a female voice said behind her. She turned to find a striking blonde in a red dress that left little to the imagination. The woman's smile didn't reach her cold eyes. "I'm sorry, have we met?" Ellie asked. "Karina Donovan." The woman extended a manicured hand. "My brother Michael sends his regards." Ice flooded Ellie's veins. Donovan, the rival family that had attacked the estate. "Bold of you to attend a Moretti function," she managed, impressed by her own steady voice. Karina's smile widened. "The Foundation's charitable work transcends business disagreements, don't you think? Besides, I wanted to see Victor's new distraction for myself." "Careful," Ellie warned softly. "Your business disagreement left 5 of your men dead." "Collateral damage." Karina sipped her champagne. "Though I must say, you're not what I expected. The waitress who somehow captured the uncapturable Victor Moretti. And yet, here I am." Ellie met the woman's gaze steadily. "Here you are," Karina agreed. "For now." She leaned closer, dropping her voice. "But ask yourself, how long before he tires of playing house with the help? Men like Victor don't marry waitresses, darling. They enjoy them, then move on to more suitable arrangements." Before Ellie could respond, a warm hand settled on her waist. "Karina," Victor acknowledged coldly. "I wasn't aware the Donovans were on the guest list." "Last-minute donation," Karina replied sweetly. "Your mother was kind enough to accommodate us." She touched Victor's arm familiarly. "For old times' sake." Old times? Ellie felt Victor tense beside her. "If you'll excuse us," he said, guiding Ellie away. "Old friends?" she asked when they were out of earshot. Victor's jaw tightened. "Briefly, before her family tried to destroy mine." The implication was clear. Another former lover, now an enemy. "She suggested I'm temporary," Ellie said quietly. "A distraction before you move on to someone more suitable." Victor stopped, turning to face her fully. "Is that what you believe?" "I believe she was trying to hurt me," Ellie replied carefully. "I'm just not sure if she was lying." His expression softened. He cupped her face in his hands, uncaring of the watching crowd. "Karina speaks from jealousy and bitterness. What we have isn't temporary, Ellie." The conviction in his voice silenced her doubts. He sealed the promise with a kiss. Brief but claiming, a public declaration of intent that sent whispers rippling through the ballroom. Later, as they circulated among Chicago's elite, Ellie felt the subtle shift in how people addressed her, no longer just curiosity, but a wary respect. Victor Moretti had made his choice clear, and the world would adjust accordingly. After midnight, as they prepared to leave, Marco approached urgently, whispering something in Victor's ear. His expression hardened instantly. "What is it?" Ellie asked when Marco departed. "Trouble." Victor guided her toward a service exit rather than the main doors. "We're leaving now." Outside, instead of their usual car, an armored SUV waited with engine running. Marco opened the door, scanning the area with vigilant eyes. Victor, what's happening? Fear tightened her chest as he hustled her into the vehicle. Once inside, his expression was granite. The Donovans weren't here by chance. They created a distraction while their men planted explosives in our car. Horror washed through her. They tried to kill us? Here? With all these witnesses? They tried to kill you. His voice was deadly quiet. The device was under the passenger seat. As they sped away, Ellie realized with crystal clarity that Karina's appearance hadn't been about taunting a rival's girlfriend. She'd come to witness Ellie's death. In Victor's world, enemies didn't fight fair. They struck where it hurt most. And now, they had identified his greatest vulnerability. Her. Absolutely not. Victor's voice cut through the study like a blade. It's the only way to ensure her safety, Sophia argued, until the Donovan situation is resolved. Ellie sat silently, watching mother and son face off across the desk. 3 days had passed since the gala, 3 days of heightened security and tension. The Donovan's assassination attempt had crossed an unspoken line. Targeting a crime boss's companion at a public event violated the rules of engagement. We can protect her here, Victor insisted. Like we protected your father? Sophia's voice softened with old grief. They've identified your weakness, Vittorio. They won't stop. I'm right here, Ellie finally interrupted. Stop talking about me like I'm not in the room. Both Morettis turned to her. Switzerland is beautiful this time of year, Sophia said. My sister's villa has excellent security, far from Chicago's troubles. You want to send me away? Ellie looked at Victor, searching his face. Is that what you want too? What I want, he said carefully, is you alive. Running doesn't solve the problem. Ellie stood, finding strength she hadn't known she possessed. If I leave, they win. They've shown they can control you by threatening me. This isn't about winning, Victor growled. It's about your safety. My safety is tied to yours now. She moved to stand beside him. Send me away, and you split your focus. You'll worry about me instead of handling the Donovans. Sophia studied her with new respect. She has a point, Vittorio. Victor pinched the bridge of his nose. 3 days ago they nearly killed you. But they didn't. Ellie took his hand. I'm still here, and I'm not running. Before he could respond, Marco burst into the study, expression urgent. Boss, you need to see this. He handed Victor a phone displaying a text message. Victor's face drained of color as he read it. What? Ellie asked. Without speaking, Victor handed her the phone. On the screen was a photo of her mother in a hospital room sleeping. Below it, a message. Choose, the waitress or her mother. One lives, one dies. You decide. 24 hours. Horror engulfed her. Mom, she whispered. Victor was already issuing orders, sending men to secure her mother's hospital. But they all knew it might be too late. How did they find her? Ellie's voice shook. You had men watching her. Someone got careless, Victor snarled, or was bought. I have to go to her. That's exactly what they want, Sophia cautioned. I don't care. Ellie's control shattered. She's my mother. Victor grasped her shoulders. Listen to me. Going there plays into their hands. It's a trap. So what's your plan? Let them hurt her to protect me? No. His voice hardened with deadly resolve. We end this. Tonight. What followed was a blur of activity. Victor mobilizing his entire organization, setting plans in motion with cold efficiency. Ellie caught fragments of strategy, coordinated strikes against Donovan Holdings, leverage against their political allies, financial attacks against their legitimate businesses. By nightfall, Victor had orchestrated a comprehensive assault against everything the Donovans valued. I'm going with you, she told Victor as he prepared to leave. Absolutely not. It's my mother, she insisted. My fight too. They locked eyes in silent battle of wills. Finally, he nodded once. You stay in the car with armed guards. You follow every order without question. Understood? The hospital had been quietly evacuated except for critical patients, including her mother. As they approached in an armored convoy, Ellie's heart hammered against her ribs. Victor squeezed her hand, his expression grave. "Whatever happens," he said quietly, "remember that I love you." The simple declaration, the first time he'd said those words, nearly broke her composure. "I love you too." Inside, they found Michael Donovan waiting in her mother's room, armed men flanking him. Her mother lay unconscious, a gun pressed to her temple by Karina Donovan. "Right on schedule," Michael drawled. The mighty Victor Moretti, brought to heel by a waitress and her invalid mother. "Let them go," Victor's voice was deadly calm. "Your quarrel is with me." "My quarrel," Michael snarled, "is with the man who killed my father, who took our territory, who thinks he can rule Chicago unchallenged." "Your father came after mine first," Victor replied. "Everything since has been consequence." As they spoke, Ellie noticed Victor subtly positioning himself. She remembered his training, creating distraction, identifying threats, finding advantage. "Enough talk," Karina snapped. "Choose, Moretti, the waitress or her mother." "I have a counteroffer," Victor said calmly. "You leave Chicago tonight, never return, and everyone walks out alive." Michael laughed. "You're not in a position to make offers." "No?" Victor's phone screen illuminated, showing a video feed. On it, several Donovan family members, children, elderly parents, sat under armed guard. "While you were focused on us, my men secured your family compound in Lake Forest. Everyone you love is now at my mercy." Shock registered on Michael's face. "You're bluffing." "Call home," Victor suggested. "See who answers." As Michael frantically dialed, Ellie moved closer to her mother's bed, careful not to make sudden movements. Karina's gun remained steady. "No one's answering," Michael whispered, face ashen. "Here's what happens now," Victor said. "My men escort your family to the airport. They board a plane to never return. In exchange, you leave my family, all of my family, alone." His eyes met Ellie's across the room, a silent message passing between them. She was family now. Protected. Permanent. After tense negotiation, the standoff ended. The Donovans retreated, taking their operation out of Chicago permanently, their power broken by Victor's ruthless countermove. Hours later, with her mother safely transferred to the Moretti's private medical facility, Ellie finally collapsed against Victor in exhaustion. "It's over?" she asked. "With the Donovans, yes." He stroked her hair. "There will be others." "I know." She looked up at him. "That's the life, isn't it?" "My life," he agreed. "And now yours, if you still want it." "I made my choice months ago." She twined her fingers with his. "No regrets." Victor reached into his pocket, withdrawing a small velvet box. Inside nestled a diamond ring of breathtaking beauty. "I had planned something more romantic," he said wryly. "Before all this." Ellie's breath caught. "Victor, marry me," he said simply. "Be my wife, my partner. Stand with me through whatever comes." The world seemed to narrow to this moment. The man before her, dangerous and powerful, offering not just protection, but partnership. The path ahead would never be safe, never be ordinary, but it would be theirs. "Yes," she whispered, accepting both the ring and the life it represented. As he slipped the diamond onto her finger, sealing their future with a kiss, Ellie knew that her choice had been made that first night in the alley. From the moment she dragged a bleeding mafia boss through that door, her fate had been intertwined with his. A waitress and a mafia boss. An unlikely love forged in blood and danger. A forbidden romance that had survived bullets, betrayal, and rival families. This was her life now, extraordinary, dangerous, and worth every risk.